I'm not one of those people that's like super into, and I only say that because not only do I have the show, but of course I like to mess around with audio gear. I'm not one of these people that thinks that cables make a huge difference or really probably make any difference as far as like the audio quality goes. Like I like buying nice cables for kind of the reason you said. It's like I want to buy it and I have to worry about it anymore, worry about it breaking because it's a cheap piece of crap. But, I don't think that having 2 XLR cables in line makes any difference
especially
either,
when this one's like a foot long. I just like that right angle connection. I wonder if I should just get a like an elbow type, XLR, like not even a cable, but just like a connector.
You could. I mean, I have one that I was using with a different microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're gonna have the microphone like especially if it's like facing down, where then you're gonna have like this sort of swooping XLR cable coming down, then it's a lot nicer to just have a right angle. Although to be honest, I mean, if you look at your frame there, I feel like that
well, you can
kind of helps
see.
get. Well, yeah, but the way you had it just kind of helps get the cable out of the frame more.
That's
and
true.
I feel like if you have the right angle, there's going to be like this cable coming straight up.
Yeah,
I don't think it really makes a difference, but
that's true. And also, that right angle cable was like bright green, so it drew more attention to it.
You're talking to a guy with a blue windscreen on his microphone, so.
So let me ask you this then. So
yeah,
I got a different pop filter for this as well. I had like a black.
Is that the one that comes with it?
It's not the one that comes with it, but I think it's like the official pop filter.
Yeah.
And it's like it was expensive. Like it shouldn't be expensive.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is gonna be my Christmas present to myself.
The pop filter.
Is the pop filter, because it's the same color as the microphone, and it only goes one distance from it, so I know that this is going to be the I know it's correct, and the metal mesh it works better than the cheapo one that I had before, and it just looks nicer, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done, what is this, episode 11?
I believe so.
Of Here's My Question for You. And we've done 11 of these, so that means that it's a real part of my life now. So I feel like I can spend the $60 that this stupid thing cost. Yeah. And I can justify it.
Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm happy to hear that you finally feel like that the podcast is a important part of your life. So that was my main takeaway from that whole thing.
Well, but, I'm ready to spend money.
Yeah.
Spend $60 on it.
Is it because we have now 16 emails in the inbox? I mean, that makes it, that's pretty cool.
I'm really wondering if there's anybody in there saying like, "Hey, I will write a little theme song for you."
It's funny. I was thinking about the same thing, because the only way we're going to know is to read all 16 emails, which I don't want this turning into like an email show.
Yeah.
I think people are going to lose interest, right? Because then it's not just me and you talking.
I'm noticing among all the podcasts that I listen to that the last 2 weeks of the year is like, hey, let's read our mailbag. Let's
clear out the inbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying we're going to read 16 episodes, or 16 emails, but I do also want to say that this episode is releasing on
Boxing Day. Yes, this is the official Boxing Day episode.
Yes. Of
the show,
which is also my 44th birthday. I mean, do you ever feel like that, where you don't remember how old you are? I'm like, is this my 43rd birthday or my 44th? I almost said 43, and that would not be correct, I don't think.
I think I have. I think right now I'm 45, which is like not an even number, but it's like it ends in a 5. I mean, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. But I feel like when I was 42, 43, 44, there was a bigger chance that I would forget, what number I was. But 45 is like a, multiple of 5, right? Like I'm not going to be 50 and not know that I'm 50.
And you're halfway to 90.
Well, yes, although I would be very surprised if I made it all the way to 90. So
you never know. You never know. I mean, I think about that a lot. My wife actually says that a lot. Like, oh, I don't want to be so old and still be alive and not be able to do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, I just want to live until like I'm no longer capable of doing the stuff that I want to do."
But I mean, I've known a lot of very old people that still manage to get around and do whatever they need to do or whatever. So but I agree. Yeah, I don't want to be like old and not be able to take care of myself, as you said.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I just don't think, based on family history and whatnot, I just don't think that's going to be an issue for me. So I'm not really.
Well, 44 is a good, it's like a double number. So like I think about like 44.
Yeah, and it's Lewis Hamilton's number, more importantly.
I don't know who that is.
Of course you don't, but just know that it's Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
Greatest race car driver
okay. All right.
ever, in my opinion.
Ever.
That'll probably get some angry comments or emails, but that's okay.
Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton.
That's like such a like a normal name.
Yeah. Well, he's English too, so it's a pretty English, Hamilton, very English sounding. Although there's that famous play, but I've never seen it. So
I think I might be wearing the same T-shirt as I wore in the last episode.
But
I'm wearing a different hoodie. This is my it's my like I don't shower until 2:00 in the afternoon hoodie.
Oh, I don't really base my wardrobe on how long it took me to take a shower, but I'm just glad that you took one.
Yeah, I mean I am too. Brush my teeth.
Well, it's funny. I always feel like I have to brush my teeth before this or before if I'm going to record voiceover or I'm going to do a magazine read through. Like I don't want to be speaking into one of my microphones with like some nasty breath.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's like you're disrespecting your stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm the kind of person I like to take care of my things, and it's like I would never get up on one of my microphones with like morning breath.
Yeah, that's a good approach. I think you just don't want it to smell forever. Because I feel like you do it once, it's going to smell forever.
Maybe.
Although you could swap out
I wouldn't be surprised.
You could swap out that.
You can swap out the foam, but I mean, you don't know, it might get into the capsule. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't want to find out. So, hey, the World Cup just ended. Did you happen to watch any World Cup?
I didn't watch any of the World Cup, although I mean, I kind of followed slightly. What was happening. I watched all these like really great videos, like drone footage from like Argentina, like from the moment they won and everything. And I thought it was really cool. Like, well, there's this one video I saw on Twitter. Yeah. Or shall we say like, what remains of Twitter at this point.
Yeah.
Of this guy was riding down an empty street and he like captured on video like the exact moment that they won. Whereas like empty streets,
like everybody was
and
inside
then,
watching.
Yeah, and then like everybody like piles out into the street. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason I don't know why I'm even bringing this up, I guess, although it just kind of goes along with what you're saying, but I would say I'm a casual fan of soccer. Like this year I didn't really watch much of any World Cup just because just some of the stuff went on, left a bad taste in my mouth or whatever. But like, I wasn't like boycotting. I was just like not interested. But for the final, it was Argentina versus France, of course. And I have one very good friend who is she's French. Well, it's the Imagine Dragons. It's her, Like she's French and she was.
We gotta have her on because I feel like she comes up so often.
I just think that's such a bad idea. She's a mess. But normally the World Cup is in the summer, right? It was in the winter this time.
Yeah.
I guess because of COVID or something, because it was delayed. I don't really know. I feel like maybe it's because it was in Qatar or however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And it's like super hot there. Maybe is why it was in winter. I don't know that I really don't know why it was in December, but normally it should be in the summer. And so she was at home. She goes to France every summer, to be with her family or whatever. And so she was there for the last World Cup when France won. Won the whole thing. And so like that was a very exciting experience for her. And so, even though I wasn't really watching, she kept texting me like updates about what was going on, like, oh, France made it to this round and they made it to that round and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, but then so when it comes up, the final is going to be France versus Argentina, because I also have a very good friend who was born and raised in Argentina, and he's like a very passionate, soccer fan. Mm-hmm. And like, he's got to be probably 10 years older than me, at least, I would say. I'm not really sure, actually. Like, we're good friends, but I don't actually know how old he is. It's kind of weird. But like, he's old enough that he was watching soccer as a kid when, like, Maradona was a big deal, who was like, before Messi, he was like the most famous Argentinian soccer player. Like, whether or not, well, now Messi's in the equation, I guess, but normally the conversation would be like, who's the GOAT? Is it Pele or is it Maradona?
Yeah.
And it just depends on, anybody from Brazil is going to say Pele, and everybody from whatever. Anyways, my point is, like, for him, Argentina being in the finals was going to be like a huge deal, right? So I wanted to watch the game because I'm like, well, two of my good friends have kind of skin in the game, and so I want to check that out. But here on the West Coast, the game was on at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and just happened to be on Sunday that I got to sleep in a little bit. I don't really get to sleep in very much because my cat has other opinions of what I should be doing around 6 o'clock in the morning. But I think, if I remember, I think my wife got up with the cat on Sunday. So that way I got to sleep in, but then she was gone. And at some point she came back to bed, and it occurred to me, I was like, oh man, the final's on like right now, and so I got my iPad out and we like laid in bed and watched it together.
Oh, that's cool.
And I mean, it was like I said, I'm a casual soccer fan at best. Like I do watch Premier League. I don't watch it religiously. I keep an eye on Premier League, and I have like YouTube TV records all the games for me, so if anything interesting comes up, I can watch it. And then normally I pay attention to like the World Cup. And I have to say, I think that is the most exciting soccer match I think that I've ever seen.
Really?
And so the fact that it was the World Cup final made it even cooler.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want to turn this into some 30-minute story, but what I wanted to say that was also cool. So whenever if I watch Premier League, it's just, we get the broadcast that we get here, which is like, English broadcast teams, right? Because they're just playing the English broadcast for us here on cable, which is perfect. That's what I would want. And but if it's like international soccer, like in the case of the World Cup final, I could watch it on Fox in English and then get like some American people calling the match, or I can watch it on Telemundo and then you get the Spanish language broadcast. Mm-hmm. And I think it was like it was in like 2010, I think, is when I just decided, like, I'm going to watch, if it's not Premier League, I'm going to watch it in Spanish, even though like I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah. You wanted to watch it en Telemundo. There's always that voice. It's en Telemundo.
Yeah. Just because, I don't know, I just feel like when you watch those matches in Spanish, like those commentators have a passion for the game that, I don't know what it is. I feel like for the most part, when you watch American sports, it's like, I feel like the play-by-play people feel like they have to have a certain amount of stoicism. Like, well, you can't be homers. Like, we have to, unless you're watching a local broadcast, that's different, right? But,
yeah.
Any kind of national broadcast, it's like, well, we have to, kind of try to be equal. You get guys like Joe Buck, who I think Joe Buck always sounds very excited.
Yeah.
But like for that reason, I feel like so many people on the internet, I read so much hate for Joe Buck online because everybody thinks that Joe Buck is a fan of whoever their team is playing against. Because like he's just always happy. It's like, it doesn't matter who scored a touchdown. Like Joe Buck's just happy that someone scored a touchdown and he's like excited about it. And so if I'm a Niner fan and I'm watching, we're playing the Cowboys and he gets excited when the Cowboys score a touchdown, like, I don't mind because I like Joe Buck. I think he does a good job. Mm-hmm. But some people get very upset about that.
Well, I mean, like in Buffalo, we'd always listen to, I mean, not always, but if you listen to the Sabres, Buffalo Sabres on the radio, you get Rick Jenneret, who just like recently retired, I guess. And he was like, so, like, it made it so much more worth to like listen to him than to even watch it on TV because he was so excited and screaming.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have like the same thing here. Like we have like the San Francisco Giants have like the best broadcast team like in baseball. But the two guys that are well, they all switch off now, so it doesn't really make sense anymore. But like we have John Miller, who I got to meet one time, is primarily the radio guy, and then we have these two other guys, Kruk and Kipe, who are like the TV guys, and they're both ex-Giants. And so, but you know, sometimes like, well, I don't want to listen to these guys, I want to listen to those guys or whatever. But now, like I said, now they all, because they're all like in the same studio basically in the ballpark.
Yeah.
And so they'll switch off. So like you're watching it on TV and you got Kruk and Kipe, and then it's like, oh, the third inning, and then all of a sudden they disappear, and then like John Miller comes over from the radio side and like switches with them because like, you know, they just have like an embarrassment of riches when it comes to like broadcast people, and so I guess they want to make sure that, you know, everybody gets to hear, you know, they get their John Miller time or get their Kruk and Kipe time.
Well, it probably also helps for them if they, you know, if they want to take a day off or like they need to leave
Sure.
early one day.
Sure. Okay, but anyway, getting back to the whole soccer thing. See, like this is turning into a 30-minute story, which is what I did not want, but I talked too much. So like 2010 was the first World Cup where I remember like I'm going to watch this in Spanish instead of English. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did. And I remember that was the first time I ever remember hearing Andres Cantor's voice, who's like, he's like the famous, he's basically the Spanish language voice of soccer in the United States.
Okay. So is
like,
he the one that's like always like yelling goal? Like it's like so.
Yes. But they all do that now. It doesn't even really matter. But he's made it, he's the one that brought that to this country, I would say.
Okay.
Like in Spanish speaking countries, they've been literally doing that since like the 40s when it was just on the radio. But yeah, he's the one that brought it here and made it like famous for American audiences. Like he was on The Simpsons, which if you ever look that up, you or anybody else, it's a really funny clip. If you just type like Andres Cantor and The Simpsons into YouTube, it'll pop right up. But like I just remember, so in the 2010 World Cup, you know, the United States was playing against Algeria. This was in the group phase or whatever they call it. And the United States had to beat Algeria in order to get out of the group phase. Mm-hmm. You know, like if they won that game, they would win their group, and if they even tied in that game, they wouldn't even make it out of the group phase. So, you know, that was a big, you know, it was a big deal if you were American and you had any interest in soccer. You know, that was a big deal game, right? Just to try to advance the knockout round. And so I remember watching that game, but I was watching it, you know, in Spanish, and it was Andres Cantor calling the game. And for anybody that doesn't know, like, so Andres Cantor, he's born and raised in Argentina, and then he moved to the United States when he was a teenager. He got his, you know, U.S. citizenship or whatever. So he's American, but, you know, he's from one of these Spanish-speaking countries where I feel like the soccer commentators don't have to even pretend to be, like, impartial. Right, like they're all so like, you know, it's, and we're playing Algeria, so who cares, right? So I mean, you know, Andres Cantor is super like in the bag for the United States to win, and the whole game goes by and it's 0-0, right? You get like the game's like, it gets to 90 minutes and the game is still like 0-0. Like the U.S. just could not get a goal. And we were like, I remember a guy hit the crossbar. Like, is anything they could do to try to get a goal in, and they couldn't. You know, they couldn't score, right?
Yeah.
And Algeria, I think, would have been fine with that, because if the game ended in a draw, then Algeria would have gone on to the knockout round.
I see.
But the United States had to score a goal. They had to win the game in order to go on. And it was like literally in stoppage time at the end of the game. And finally, Landon Donovan scores this goal, and like Andres Cantor just goes crazy, right? Like, I think and you can look that clip up on YouTube too if you just type.
Is it like it's
Cantor,
like a
Algeria.
It's a legendary clip, you think?
Oh yes. If you're an American soccer fan, I think like I think that was his like greatest call until last Sunday.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Like, if you go look, like I said, you can look that clip up on YouTube and read the comments underneath it, and everybody's just like, that's like, this is the GOAT call right here. And part of it is like he said goal for so long. It's like, how can you even hold your breath that long? And then immediately like took a breath and then did it again. I'm like, what? And
well, it was
I
that adrenaline. It was running so fiercely.
He was on like a podcast. I forgot the woman's name. She was on the Team USA like women's soccer team. Like she's not just some random person. And she has like a podcast and YouTube show, and she had Andres Cantor on the show one time, and she asked him like, what in your memory in your whole career is like, what was your greatest moment, calling a goal? And that was the call that he said. And in fact,
really?
he said he almost fainted. Because he said it was just like he was so exhausted by the end of the game. He said it was such a stressful game because of all the things I just said. And when it finally happened, it was just like
this huge release of everything.
Yeah.
You think we could get him on here to talk about it?
Oh, absolutely not. He's an extremely famous individual. He is 100% not coming on here. That would be cool, though. But so anyway, we watched this game on Sunday, and it's, Cantor calling the game, which is why, because originally I turned it on Fox because I wasn't thinking. And it's just like, these guys are just putting me to sleep. It's just, I don't know. They're just terrible. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and it only took me like a minute, and I was like, oh, what am I doing? And I switched the channel over to Telemundo, and then there was Andres Cantor, and I was like, perfect. And so by the time we turned the game on, it was in like the 60th minute of the game, mm-hmm. right? So it's like 15 minutes into the second half, and Argentina was up 2-0.
Okay.
Which, anybody that watches soccer, like you're up 2-0 at the 60th minute, like,
you're set.
You're in a very good position to win the game, right? And so we watch it, and I was kind of like, and when I turned it on, it was funny. I was like, I don't really have any skin in this game because I got one good friend that is France, and the other one's Argentina.
Mm-hmm. But I bet you automatically felt like, oh, this is good.
Yeah, I don't know. I just France won. They're the defending champion. Like Argentina hadn't won since like '86. Mm-hmm. And it's just like my Argentinian friend is far more passionate about soccer. And so it's like for him, it's like, oh, I would love for him to see Argentina win because he hasn't seen Argentina win since probably he was a kid. You know? And so I'm like, oh, cool. They're up, and I don't want to go through the whole, I'm not going to tell you everything that happened and bore people to death, which I'm probably already doing. But, so we're watching the game, and like France scores like 2 quick goals. They get a penalty shot and they score, and then like seemingly it was like a minute or two. It was like right after that they score again, and so now the game is tied, and we're just like my wife and I are just like, holy crap. And
were you starting to feel as though you had jinxed it by turning it on?
No.
It all comes down to you.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Why.
That's like main character syndrome. Yeah. If you think that, but no, but it's just like we're watching it, and I can't understand anything the broadcasters are saying, mm-hmm. right? Which to me, I don't really care because I feel like most sports, like the broadcasters really aren't adding anything. It's more just like
you feel the
having
energy,
voices,
the energy of it, not.
But I'm saying even if it's in English, generally, you're not telling me anything I can't already see. Yes. But it's just like. It's part of the atmosphere of watching a game is having the commentator, really. And so, like, I don't need to understand a soccer commentator because I can see what's going on. Like, I don't remember them ever saying anything that was like, inside knowledge that I wouldn't have already known because it's just not. It's not a super complicated sport. I feel like football, you get like Tony Romo, and he'll say something where I'm like, oh yeah, I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that's probably true. Where if you're listening to commentary in a language that you don't understand, and you can still understand what is happening.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a telltale sign for you're really good at what you do.
Sure.
Does that make sense? I guess. If you can watch and not understand what they're saying, but still be able to understand probably what they're saying, or just the energy of how they're delivering it, and you get invested in that.
Yes.
Then that says a lot for how good they are at their job.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, and he's He's like the GOAT as far as, like I said, Spanish language soccer commentating. But all right, so anyway, they tie the game. It goes into like extra time, and then Messi scores a goal. So now, of course, Andres Cantor very happy. Messi just scored a goal. So that's goal for a very long time, probably multiple times. And so then you're thinking, okay, well, you're in extra time. They scored a goal. Okay, it's over, right?
Yeah.
So then France gets another penalty shot, and both of these penalty shots they got, I mean, it was a blatant foul. Like, it's not like anybody was trying to, you get all the conspiracy theorists online, like, oh, FIFA just wants a more exciting match. They told the referee. No, like, they were blatant, stupid fouls, and, penalty shots were called for. So then France scores on the penalty shot. Now it's 3-3 again. So then extra time runs out. Now we're going to penalty shots, which I have mixed feelings about penalty shots ending a game. And same thing in like hockey, having a shootout. It's just like, I mean, scoring a goal in a shootout in hockey, I think it's more difficult to score a goal.
If someone scores a goal, I mean, this is showing how little I know about it. So if somebody scores a goal, do they automatically win, or does the other team have a chance to match it?
No. So each team gets 5 chances.
Okay.
So like one player, they flip a coin to see which team goes first.
Yeah.
A player from that team goes and takes their attempt. Then someone from the other team takes their attempt, and you do that up to 5 times. You don't even have to go all 5 times, because you can imagine at some point it can become mathematically impossible for the other team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if one team has 3 and the other team has 0 after 3 chances, then the game is over.
So
right?
they alternate.
Yes.
Okay.
They go back and forth. Yeah. So anyway, you get the penalty shots or whatever. I'm not gonna break all that down, but Argentina ends up winning the game during the, from the penalty shots. At some point it was like they got to the point where, okay, if France doesn't make this shot, they lose, but France made it. And so then this Argentinian guy goes to take his shot, and it's like, okay, if he makes it, then it's over. Yeah. So he makes it, and it's over, and like Andres Cantor just like loses it, right? Like he's screaming about how like they're, Argentina is the champion, but like he's crying while he's trying to, like he's just screaming over and over again in Spanish, like Argentina is the world champion, but he's just like crying while he's doing it. And like it's crazy because I'm watching that, and I understand, like I speak a little bit of Spanish. I understand what he's saying, right? Like I know what Campeón del Mundo is, and but it's almost like I got world champion.
Oh, okay.
But then it's like I'm hearing him get it, and I'm starting to get a little lump in my throat, just because it's like he's so like overjoyed, because like especially because like my wife told me at one point after France had tied the game that Andre said to his broadcast partner, he said something like, "I'm not going to lie to you, I feel a little bit sad right now," because like France seemed like they tied the game and had all the momentum. And I was watching it, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, what happened to Argentina? Like, they're falling apart on the field. And so I think that's what he felt too, is like, oh, I think this is not good. And so then when they won, it was just like, he just like lost it, So
a huge relief, I'm sure.
Yeah. But so I imagine for him, that was like, and that's why I brought up the Landon Donovan thing, is like, how emotional he got over Landon Donovan scoring a goal just to get the United States into the knockout phase. Yeah. And then like the emotional roller coaster that this game on Sunday was, and then what that meant to him personally as an Argentinian American. Yeah. Argentine American, I think.
I think Argentinian. I
think it's Argentine. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, it was just like, it was really cool to see that.
It's nice. It's nice. I mean,
most sports I watch, it's like I don't get super invested in it, but I have to say, and I'm not invested in this game in that I didn't really care at the end of the day, like anything. But I was sort of being a fan or whatever on behalf of other people, but it's not like the U.S. was in the final, so like at the end of the day, what do I really care? But it was just cool to see that live.
But even if you don't care about either team, then you still think about it. You still think, well, who do I want to win regardless? Yeah. I think even if you don't, you don't care. like who it is,
Yeah.
I guess, or you don't care about the game, you're not invested in it, but you still tend to pick people that you would prefer to win.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, that's all I had to say about that.
Well, it was about a 25-minute story, but it's okay.
You know, it's hard because, I'm the one that edits these shows. And so I feel like, there's your vocal track and there's my vocal track.
And you're going to see
and
this.
I feel like, no, but it's just like, I feel like there's way too much activity sometimes in my vocal track. And it's like,
oh, that's okay.
I don't want to be like dominating the conversation.
That's, listen,
yeah.
I'm used to it. If you've listened to any of our live streams, you know.
I know.
And it's okay.
But that's somebody even said something to me, like in my Discord, about how like this podcast, like, oh, it'll be nice to hear Coury be able to speak without being like talked over constantly.
But that's just part of the dynamic, and I like to be the man of few words. I will interject things here and there. But it just comes out like a lot of times I just don't have as much to say.
You're the icing.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Did you see the mug, by the way? You didn't see
I did.
the mug.
Oh, I've been
I was trying
thinking
to be
about
conspicuous.
I've been thinking about
You
it.
see,
the whole
it's
time.
double-sided too. See, it's got the Pat Finnerty show with the cup of coffee on one side, and then it's just got a little PF on the other side.
I wonder if they still have them. If they're still available.
You should look.
I'm going
probably. I mean, these things are printed to order, so I don't think it's like there was a limited quantity. It's just get one before they get shut down by our corporate overlords at Dunkin'.
Well, the problem is that we have too many coffee cups in this house. And
I have the same problem for sure. Yes.
If there's something that we have too many things of in this house, it's not video games.
No.
It is
not.
Coffee cups.
Ignoring the shelves behind you.
Yeah.
Frame. You don't have.
It is coffee cups and water bottles.
Yeah. Oh, same thing here.
My
for
kids
sure.
like and not only that, my kids like say, "Oh, I want a new water bottle. Can I get one of these water bottles?" And I'm always like, all right, if we're gonna get some new ones, we need to get rid of some of the old ones. And I cannot talk my wife into getting rid of any of the old ones. She cleared space out in our pantry to stack up the water bottles that we don't even use. There's one that we have that has been dropped so many times that the bottom of it is bulging out and you can't even set it down.
Yeah.
And
it's like one of those clean canteen kind of ones where it's metal?
You cannot set it down or else it will fall over.
Yeah.
And I'd say, can we get rid of this? We need to get rid of this. No.
Can you recycle those? Like, can't you just put that in the recycling bin? It's metal.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, that's something.
I would.
So whenever she's on here with us, I want you to say why.
Oh, wow. I'm so not going to do that. Like, please don't drag me into your marital disputes.
Our marital disputes is all about water bottles and coffee cups. Actually, not coffee cups as much.
Yeah. I feel like if that's the worst problem you have in your marriage, you have a pretty good marriage, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can I tell you about?
I feel the same way about the mugs. Just quickly, I just sometimes I buy mugs because I'm like I specifically am like I want to use this mug on the show.
Yeah.
Like this show or my other show.
You can write that off on your
taxes. It's half the reason I got the one. Well, yes, that's true. It's not why I do it, but it's just like, last time I had the graphics gear mug.
Yeah.
Because it's just like if I'm talking about PC Engine games on my show, I should be drinking out of a PC Engine mug.
Yeah, I agree.
And then, of course, as we discussed on episode 0, Pat Finnerty was the impetus behind this show. And so what better time to drink out of a Pat Finnerty show mug?
I'm going to say right here that I think that at some point in our lifetimes we'll be able to have him on here.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm throwing the gauntlet down and saying, if there's two people that are like top of my list who I would love to have on here, it's going to be Pat Finnerty and Tim Rogers.
Yeah.
Those are the two people that I want on this podcast at some point.
It's funny you said that because I've been watching a bunch of those Tim Rogers videos.
Which you hadn't really seen before. You hadn't really seen any of his stuff.
I'd never heard of him before.
Oh.
But But watching those, the thought also occurred to me. I was like, oh, we should try to get this guy on our show.
So you should listen to his podcast that he does with a few other people. He does it with Frank Cifaldi. He's like good longtime friends with Frank. Like they've known each other.
I didn't know. What's the
it's called
podcast?
Insert Credit.
How do I not know about this stuff?
But that podcast is very much like this, but where people send in questions and it's just like random questions, but all their questions are video game focused.
Okay.
But it's just random questions every time. There's something like 200 some episodes of it.
Oh, wow. All right. See, that's part of our problem, I feel like, is I want us to get some more episodes under our belt before we start reaching out to heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Because then we seem more established. You know, I mean, I feel like we can just say, hey, dude, I'm the Classic Gaming Quarterly dude. He's the My Life in Gaming dude. Like, we're not, you know, just randos off the street, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like if we have more of an established show, it's easier to go to some of these people and say, hey, you should come on our show.
Yes. That would be nice. That'd be nice. I mean, there's a big list of people that I would like to have on, but I'd say that those two are easily at the top.
Yeah. So before I interrupted with my mug thing, you seemed like you wanted to say something.
So it's just because we were talking about, I'd mentioned my wife, and we are going to do like a sleep study. I kind of realized that I think my wife and me to some extent have sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of realized it last week where I don't know, I woke up at 4 a.m. for whatever reason. And I noticed that my wife was like breathing really heavy, and then she'd like snore a bit and then wake up and move. And then it happened like 15 times in a half hour. And then like the next day when we were driving back, we were at our parents' house driving back, and she said, I'm just so tired. Can you drive the rest of the way because I'm too tired.
Yeah.
And, you know, based on the things that I had just heard about, I said, I'm going to call and I'm going to get us appointments to go in there and talk to somebody about it, because I think that to some extent I have it, but I don't think that I really snore, but I have very specific instances where I will fall asleep on my back and I will have a very, very quick and horrifying nightmare before I wake up, and then I turn on my side, and then I sleep fine throughout the night. And I read some stuff about sleep apnea, about how it was depicted as like a demon or dark shadow figure, like sitting.
Yeah.
Nelly.
It's all right. It's no big deal. It's fine.
Sitting on my, you know, like on a person's chest. Like that is how, before they knew what it was, that's how.
Because some people think that their house is like haunted and there's demons, and it's just sleep apnea.
Yeah, it's this weird. You're not enough oxygen is getting to your brain.
Yeah, I'm not saying your house can't be haunted. I'm just saying if it's something specific like that, it's because you have sleep apnea.
Yes.
Yeah.
So sorry about my dog. She was barking.
It's really not a big deal.
I'm trying to get her to come over here. Maybe she'd like to make an appearance, but
yeah.
She's gonna start eating this. And,
she just dragged something out. What did she drag out?
It's a Coury
Hopefully.
N64 controller. Nelly, come on.
God. It's funny. I was gonna make the joke. Maybe it's a N64 game, and then it's okay. But
come here.
If that's the Coury mini pad, that's not cool.
It is. And it's a real
Tell her
one.
Tell her to chew on regular N64 controllers.
Nelly, come here.
So now I'm gonna have to edit this out. See?
No. I think it's more fun
work for me.
I think it's more fun to have this be part of it.
It'd be even more fun if she chewed up that controller.
Yeah, she's just laying there looking at it. She's thinking about it.
See now you're gonna be all nervous.
No.
That she's gonna chew it and you're not gonna know.
I can go and pick it up. Really, I just want to.
You can just buy a new one, right? Because you can write it off on your taxes, like you just said.
Well, the thing is that this is an extra one.
Yeah.
We mentioned them on one of our live stream, and I think that somebody had a secret resource for them in Japan, and sent us like 4 of them each.
Was it Super Potato? Because that's not a very secret resource at all.
No, I have no idea.
Okay. They sent you how many of them?
Sent us like 4 of them. like each.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I put that over there.
I don't ever need more than one.
I've made like a stack of things that I want to like give away over time. So I said I'm just going to put one of these in that stack.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a second. Let me just grab her.
Uh-huh.
Nellie, you need to stay out of that.
See, this is what always creates work for me, because now, we're over here. Now, I have to edit this out. Probably. What's actually probably going to happen is that I'm going to forget to edit it out, and then you're all going to hear it. All right, I don't know what's going on. He can't hear me because, all right, now I have to shut up.
What?
Huh? Nothing.
So I gave her my neck pillow that she likes to do.
Nice
It's funny because she'll like get her head stuck in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very rewarding to see that happen.
Yeah. So, do you have more to say about your sleep apnea?
No.
Or
So I will bring it up
are you guys
again.
Get matching CPAP machines?
I don't know. I'm more concerned about her getting it first. So she's going on the. Let me look at my schedule here. On January 17th, because the place at the hospital here that does the testing for it is only there every other Tuesday.
That seems odd because I feel like sleep apnea is a pretty major issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious. And it's just, it has me wondering that I wonder how long she has been suffering from this, because I feel as though her father definitely has the same problem, where he is a very, very heavy snorer, and apparently he like wakes up a lot and adjusts himself and everything. And I wonder if how long it's been affecting people, and they're just tired all the time. And I wonder if like after getting a CPAP and seeing if it helps, and you realize I've lived my whole life being like so tired, and I almost feel like I've wasted so much of my life being so tired.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, anything that solves that would be good, right?
Yes.
I feel like I'm such a light sleeper. I don't think I could sleep. I mean, first of all, I don't believe I have sleep apnea, but I don't see how I could sleep with one of those things. I just feel like you're trading one thing that's keeping you, like if I have to wear like a freaking fighter pilot mask with a gigantic hose on it to sleep, there's no way I would sleep.
I mean, is that what they all look like? I wonder if there is.
I'm sure I am very out of touch with, current trends in sleep apnea remediation technologies, but
well, it'll be interesting. I wonder if the technology has improved that the masks aren't so huge, or if it's something else.
Yeah. But hey, we're about 45 minutes into the show now. So, which I think what better time than now for the second installment of Does It Slap or Should We Eat It?
All right. I've been thinking about what you could possibly come up with, and I have no idea, I'm sure.
Well, so let me tell you real quick. Here's what I did. Because I spent a few days, I would say, kind of thinking about trying to come up with 3 things. And I had a very hard time coming up with 3. Because I feel like I'm trying to come up with like a little triad of things, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and they can't have anything to do with each other. And I started overthinking it. So I just threw all that out. And I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. So what I did instead is, and maybe this will help you. Maybe you think this is not cool. I don't know. So I started a new spreadsheet on my computer. And it just has 2 columns. Mm-hmm. It has the slaps column, and it has the yeets column.
Okay.
Right? And then I'm just putting just things that I think are cool in the slaps column, and things that I think suck in the yeets column. And one thing I noticed that I thought was very interesting is I feel like it's far easier to fill up a column full of things that, because it's not about me, right? Like I can't just think of things that are specific for me that I like, or things that I don't like, right? And so like I'm trying to think of things that are more like generally relatable. And I feel like, everybody is an individual, and we all have, our own personal taste, but I think that there are far more things that we can all agree are bad, right? Like cavities, right? Like having a cavity drilled. Okay, everybody hates having a cavity drilled, right?
Yeah.
But raw mushrooms on a salad, right? Some people think that's awesome. Other people might rather have a cavity drilled out than have to eat that.
That's true.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting. It's harder to fill up the slaps column, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I got a bunch of stuff in this column, and then what I'm doing, or what I did this morning before we start recording, is I just take that whole column and I copy it. I take it over to random.org, which is a list randomizer, and I just put the whole thing in there, and I hit randomize, and I just kind of keep hitting randomize until I get the 3 things at the top that I think, okay. Because like this morning, I did it the first time, and all 3 of them were food items.
Okay. Yeah, you don't want it to be
I'm like,
the
well,
same
that's
thing. Yeah.
Right. Because you said you wanted them to be completely unrelated things. So I'm like, okay, no problem. You just keep hitting randomize until you get 3 things. You're like, okay, that's a pretty good grouping. And so then really the only decision for me on any day when it's my turn is just, okay, do I want to be positive today, or are we going to go negative?
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about hangnails, or are we going to talk about poutine?
Right.
So anyway, I decided to go positive today.
Okay.
Let's start off on a positive note.
The world
Okay,
can
so
always use a little positivity. So
that's what I'm saying. Okay, so here are your 3 things for segment number 2 of Does It Slap or Should We Eat It? Number 1, Cheers, the TV show. Ted Danson, Shelley Long, John Ratzenberger, George Wendt, Woody Harrelson, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. In fact, didn't Kirstie Alley just pass away?
she did, yeah.
That was crazy. I had a huge crush on her when she was on Cheers, and now that seems weird when people that you used to have a crush on die.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely pretty weird. I mean, I don't know if I did, but I had heard that she was not the greatest person in the ending.
Well, not by our standards
Years,
anyway. But okay, so and you kind of did this to me where I feel like you gave me 3 things where one of them was like obviously like, well, that one's easy to throw out. So maybe I'm giving you one back. I'm not sure. So number 1 was Cheers. Number 2, cars with manual transmissions.
Okay.
Because I know we talked about that before, but I don't really remember you having a strong opinion. So, yeah. So that's number 2. Number 3, peanut M&Ms.
All right. I definitely yeet peanut M&Ms.
Really? See, now that I'm very shocked.
Yeah, I just don't really. If they are my least preferred of the M&Ms, I will take.
This is why I think this is a cool segment. Because
Yeah.
this is how you get to know people, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I would never eat peanut M&Ms. If they are the only thing around, sure.
But you're saying you think they're the worst variant of M&Ms.
Yes. I would eat any kind of M&Ms or Reese's Pieces over peanut M&Ms.
Reese's Pieces?
Yeah.
They're just Reese's Pieces. All right. Anyway.
Well,
right.
Reese's Pieces. You know what?
Yeah. Okay. I want to go back and I want to revisit the M&Ms thing after we get done with this segment. But
all right.
All right.
I would probably also eat Cheers. Not even though I don't have a manual transmission.
Yeah.
I think that they are forever cooler than the other 2 things.
Okay.
Even though
Yeah.
I can drive a manual transmission, I do not, because it seems like when there's kids in the car or something like that, there's a lot of other things that I might need to be doing with my hands.
Sure.
It's picking up stuff off the floor or like off the floor of the car, and just things I cannot possibly be doing with kids in the car. But I think that it's forever, like they are forever like really badass and cool.
Yeah. Wow.
And
all right. I mean, that's all of it. That's surprising. I figured you were going to throw out the manual transmission. I figured that was like the N64 controller for me. You're like, I don't care about that. And I felt like, because asking me to pick between Cheers and peanut M&Ms is like asking me to pick between 2 kids that I don't have, but if I did. Okay, so anyway, so if we can get back to M&Ms then
Sure.
for a second. And actually, since you brought this up, okay, so here's what I would like, if you could please do this for me, is rank the M&Ms variants from, just give me like the top 3 or whatever, but also insert Reese's Pieces in there somewhere.
I would probably put Reese's Pieces or Reese's Pieces. I don't know if that's why,
Yeah.
if that's something that I just like said growing up, or I heard someplace growing up, and that's just always what I've called them. I don't know. I would probably put those at the top, honestly.
Yeah.
And I would put regular M&Ms. If there's dark chocolate, I'd probably put dark chocolate M&Ms. Like,
Do they make like just plain M&Ms that are dark chocolate?
I'm sure that they do. I'm pretty sure that they do.
I've never. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd try that. Yeah.
And like mint M&Ms, I would definitely put over.
Okay.
peanut.
I'm not sure I've had those either.
Yeah, I mean they're just mint chocolate.
Yeah,
you know?
I can imagine. Yeah.
Is there what ones am I missing out on?
Well,
you think?
Okay. Well, peanut, but you already said that's the worst. Almond. There's peanut butter.
Okay, well, peanut butter
Pret-
and Reese's Pieces are basically the same.
Well, no, they're not, because peanut butter M&Ms are still chocolate. They have peanut butter in the middle.
Oh, so it's just like has a little injection of peanut butter in the middle?
Yeah, but they're pretty big. I mean, you still get quite a bit of chocolate, and then the peanut butter in the middle, I think, is very similar to like the peanut butter that's in a Reese's peanut butter.
That sounds incredible.
Oh, that's probably my low key. Like, I feel like I have to say that peanut M&Ms are my favorite because, like, you know, I feel like you have to say that if you want to live and function in a normal society. But secretly, I think like I like peanut butter M&Ms better.
I feel as though I need to get some of those.
I think you should. They're really good. So what did I say? Did I say there's caramel, there's brownie, there's one that has a little cookie piece inside.
Oh man,
Pretzel, I think I already said. Pretzel's
Oh,
cool
that-
'cause you get
that
a little
sounds good,
sweet
too.
and salty thing going on.
All these sound better than peanut.
You seem kind of M&M's ignorant, if I may say.
Maybe so, yeah.
Like, I feel like, you know, you got the house to yourself there for a day or two. I feel like maybe you should, you know, drive over to Target and pick up expand your M&M horizons a little bit. Get some Reese's Pieces while you're in there.
I could do that and
Get those as a
and
palate
then
cleanser.
feel immediately like garbage about eating just exorbitant amounts of chocolate by myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's Christmas, man. You gotta do it up.
And I
all right.
would, but it's just
Yeah.
like for some reason I cannot seem to stop gaining weight, and it's not on purpose, obviously.
Well, first of all, you look fine to me, and second of all, it's the weight gaining time of year. So
Yeah.
don't be so hard on yourself. You know, you'll have Christmas will be over soon. You'll have plenty of time to shed a few pounds afterwards. You know, this is the time to enjoy yourself. Oh, she has a sweater.
She has a sweater
You tell
on.
me.
We just went to.
And you named her after Nelly Furtado, right? Because you said that your "I Am Like a Bird" was the song that you and your wife danced to. It was your first dance at your wedding, right?
No, that was Hey Man. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Like that's
I was
that's
so
the Nelly
worried-
Furtado song, or she's named after what is it? The one that she did with Timbaland. Is that Promiscuous Girl? That's who she's. Why she's named that?
I don't know. You had me so nervous after we finished the last episode about the whole zebra head thing.
Oh well, you
It's like, am I wrong? Did they not do that song, that Get Back song? I'm like, because that was the only, to me in my mind, I was like, that's the only song I know of theirs. And it's like, if I'm not even right with the band, like,
no, you.
so I
you
was
were,
relieved when I looked it up.
Yeah.
You know,
My friend Chris, who's going to be on here in a couple of weeks here, he's like, I love listening to the podcast because I'm just like sitting here waiting for the next nostalgia bomb that's you're gonna hit me with.
yeah,
And Zebrahead was definitely one for him.
yeah. So, unless you have something else you want to talk about.
Well, So
I don't want to be dominating
I
the
feel as though I
conversation.
need to explore the M&M options.
Please.
So, do you think less of me because I don't like peanut M&Ms? Like I like them, but they are my least preferred or favorite kind for sure.
But it just
And I
first
like
of all,
peanuts.
no, I'm not going to think less of someone because they don't like a certain food. But it just sounds to me like you haven't had that many M&Ms. So, but I would say, like,
But you
to
said
me,
brownies.
it's
like that sounds incredible.
yeah, there's a brownie.
I
M&Ms.
feel
like,
as though I'm just missing out on a huge part of my life.
yeah, I think you are too. But but clearly, you just said, well, I like them, right? But clearly, you're not excited about like peanut M&M. Like, if I'm going to go into a store, like I want some candy, right? And I'm going to go into like a convenience store or whatever. Like, peanut M&Ms would be like one of my go-tos. Like, I'm not, I go in there, there's no way I'm getting like an Abba Zaba or something like that. Like, there's certain things that I'm just not, those are not even under consideration, right? So it's like you go in there and you're like, well, what kind of a mood am I in? Do I want some Reese's peanut butter cups? Do I want some peanut M&Ms? Do they even have peanut butter M&Ms, which you can't find everywhere? Maybe today's a Twix kind of day.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like you're not, like the store's got to be sold out of most everything before you would slum it and have peanut M&Ms, which is fine.
Yeah, they'd have to be really sold out. They'd have to be sold out of everything else, basically. And also, I would have to have some insatiable, like, need to have candy. I would probably not get anything before I only
All right.
could get
Yeah.
peanut M&Ms.
That's fine. I understand.
It looks like you're like taking a note about it. You're like writing something down. You're like this guy.
I'm going to write like a Kitty Kelly-esque tell-all book about you and sell it on my website.
Well, but you would keep Cheers around or no? I mean, do you have a lot of nostalgia for Cheers, the show?
Oh yeah, that was like that's one of my all-time favorite sitcoms. Might be my all-time favorite sitcom, actually.
It's up there. And I didn't watch it every week, obviously, but I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the finale for that was on. What year was that? Like 93? It was like the last year it was on, or is that?
I think it was sooner than that because I believe I was a freshman.
Okay.
So I think it was 92.
Okay. So I was close. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's probably a show if I go back and watch now, I'd probably appreciate a lot more about it.
Yeah. My thing with Cheers, it's funny because when I was, I was watching Cheers. Well, I was watching it like all along, I guess, with my parents or whatever on Thursday nights. But, Cheers was like in heavy syndication when I was like a preteen and a teenager. And so like when I was in like junior high and high school, they showed an episode of Cheers every night, and I would watch it every night, and it's better if you don't hit the microphone.
Yeah, I know. I'm not trying to. I just wanted to get her on camera a little bit.
I know. She's very adorable. This is the kind of thing, if you're not a Patreon supporter, there's a cute dog and you don't get to watch it right now.
Yeah,
so
you got to wait a month to see it.
Right.
To see this dog.
Anyway, what I was going to say, though, is like, so when I used to watch it when I was younger, probably partially, like I said, I had a little crush on Kirstie Alley's character, Rebecca. Mm-hmm. But I really, really, really disliked Shelley Long's character, Diane.
And she was in it first?
Really, really, yeah, she was in like the first couple of 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And I like, if, because that's how syndication works, right? They play every episode in order, and then they go back to episode number 1
right.
and just do it all over again. And so if we were in like a time where it's like, oh, we got Shelley Long episodes on, oftentimes I'd be like, yeah, maybe I'll throw some Mega Man 6 on or something instead.
Yeah.
I'm not really into this. And it's funny how, like, if I go back and watch the show now, I see that show completely differently. And like, I think that like Shelley Long's character was actually far more interesting than Kirstie Alley's. And I think that like the relationship, that Sam and Diane relationship was What was more interesting, but it's funny, like watching that show now, I realize how like sort of abusive he was to her, and maybe when I was younger and I watched it, I didn't care because I didn't like her. Mm-hmm. And so when he was mean to her, I was just like, good, like I don't like you, you know. But watching it as an adult, I have kind of the opposite, you know, reaction, you know, especially because, you know, she's like a college student, she's much younger than he is. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's sometimes watching some of that, you know, I kind of cringe a little bit, you know, that someone is treating somebody else that way, and it's supposed to be like a comedy show.
Yeah.
You know, like that's not really even that fun. And I don't think that's like, you know, modern day, you know, PC kind of stuff that some people don't like. It's just like, you know, he's literally being abusive to her. So
I should go back and watch some of those. I'm pretty sure they're streaming someplace.
Plus, the character of Ernie Pantuso, Coach,
Oh yeah,
is one of my all-time favorite television characters. And especially as sort of like he's not a minor character, but you know, he's a, you know, supporting character.
Yeah.
And I just think he's awesome.
So what did you think about the Frasier show when it was on? Did you watch any of that?
Yeah, I think Frasier's a good show. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of it. Like if it came on, because that was on Thursday night. That took over for that when it ended. And that was on for a long time, too. It's just that I always felt like he was basically the least interesting character on the show.
Really?
But that is just coming from the mind of a kid that was, you know, in junior high at the time.
Well, yeah, that's probably when I was a kid. I didn't think Frasier. But if you watch the show as an adult, I think that Frasier's actually quite an interesting person. Mm-hmm. And I think that show, the Frasier show, was a really good show. I like the fact that it's like, yeah, it's this character, it's this established character that people like. We're going to have him still have a show. Yeah. But at the same time, they completely extracted him from the Cheers world and said, okay, well, you're going to move to Seattle and have your own whole new storyline. Yeah. And I think that was a good decision as far as like,
did any of the Cheers people ever show up on the show? I'm sure they did.
Yeah, there would be little like guests, like, oh, you know, Lilith is going to be on or whatever. Mm-hmm. There was a few instances of that. I think Norm was on the show one time. Yeah, but it was kind of few and far between. You know, it was maybe here's a little bit of fan service for Cheers fans, but it was like I said, they really separated that show out from the Cheers world, and I think that was a good thing.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at that now because there is this brief period of time where Woody Harrelson, like, who was probably the most, I don't know if he's the most successful out of everybody that was on that show.
Maybe.
But, I mean.
Because, I mean, it's him and Ted Danson, right?
Yeah, for sure. Sure. But, Ted Danson seems to have a pretty good television career now. I never watched The Good Place. He was on that. I guess that was really good.
I never. Yeah. I feel like the only thing I ever really, aside from I saw a movie or two that he was in, I enjoyed his guest appearances on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, okay. That's something I've never seen. I should really watch that on the Max.
No,
on the HBO Max.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't, because you're not really that into Seinfeld. Like I was huge into Seinfeld, and so people would tell me like, oh, you have to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. But as we've discussed before, telling me that, oh, you have to watch whatever is going to get me to not watch it. But in the case of Curb Your Enthusiasm, it was like you had to have HBO or whatever, and so you couldn't watch it. And then I think it went through a period of time where it was on like Amazon or it was somewhere else that I already had. And so I went ahead and started watching it, and I think that show is better than Seinfeld, personally.
Okay, well, but
like it's the same style of humor. Like if you liked, here's a bunch of deplorable, awful people.
Yeah, but it's about him as the writer of this show, of that show.
Yeah, it's part of the show is the backstory of his character. He's playing himself. He's Larry David, and yes, he used to be the guy that wrote Seinfeld. So
See, that kind of meta-ness of it is pretty interesting, I think. And I feel that's something that you could probably put on in the background and do other stuff while you watch it, or you got to really they have a very central storyline that you got to follow pretty closely.
No, it definitely doesn't have a central storyline, but I think I would have a hard time putting on Curb Your Enthusiasm and not paying attention to it.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like at least each episode, it's like if you don't know what's going on, then why is Larry visiting Shaq in the hospital? What happened? Like you have to have known what happened, or you don't know what happened. Yeah.
Why is does he visit Shaq in the hospital?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Peanut butter. Anybody that watches Curb Your Enthusiasm knows. Is peanut butter a dairy product? Wink, wink.
Okay.
Anyway, how did we get onto that? Oh, because of Cheers, right? Yeah, no, it's a good show. You should check it out. But I think now you have to have HBO, or maybe, like you said, maybe it's on whatever the Cinemax. I always thought HBO and Cinemax were kind of the same company. I guess I was wrong. Like, you have to have a subscription to them separately.
Right, but I always felt like
I'm not going to do that.
Certain movies that would be on HBO would later on be on Cinemax, and and Showtime was the one that was always the one out. And I remember that because growing up, Showtime was channel 15, HBO was channel 16, and Cinemax was channel 17. And
so
I don't know, it just I always felt like the Showtime was the odd one out, and the other two. I always felt like they were in cahoots with each other to go against Showtime. But Cinemax would show the adult movies starting at about.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's all. When I hear Cinemax, all I think of is Skinemax.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to stay up late enough to watch like one of those Emmanuel movies or something.
Oh yeah,
just being tired. Yeah.
Yeah, and then then you try to HBO tried to do something like that. It was always like real sex, and it's like, oh, I don't want to watch like these gross normal people, documentary style things,
yeah,
like doing like real things, like just normal people.
Right, that's just gross. So I've been working on the next magazine read through.
Yeah.
I was trying to have another one done by Christmas, but it's just not going to happen. But I picked this issue of PSM.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
So because they would do holiday issues, and like the December issue every year was like literally they said like, oh, it's our holiday special. EGM would have their quote unquote holiday issue where it was like a phone book, but I'm saying like with PSM it was like. The cover was all Christmassy, and they would have like a holiday buyer's guide, and whatever. And so I started working on that, and so I've been recording a bunch of gameplay footage of PlayStation games this week, which already just makes me happy because I love playing the PlayStation.
Are you using your real system for it, or are you using the Mr. Core at this point?
Still using the Mr. Sorry.
Oh no, that makes sense because the Mr. Core is so good at this point.
It's very, very, very good. But I'm glad you asked that though, because that's kind of what I was getting at. Is just like. I feel like I finally have a setup that I'm not just happy with it. Like I'm like I love it.
Yeah.
So I got, upstairs, in my quote unquote office or whatever. That's where my editing computer is, which is a Macintosh. And I only mention that because, that was causing problems for a while because I was having issues trying to record gameplay footage in a way that I was happy with on the Mac. Until I, reached out and had Joe help me, and now I'm all set. But so I've got my iMac there. I've got the Mister sitting on the desk, and then just to the right of that, I have like a little 13-inch PVM. But then I also took my shit stack up there, SCHIIT stack, because I don't like to, not as comfortable just throwing around curse words on the show as you are, but. So it's this company. I think we talked about it before, though. This company, Shit Audio.
Yeah.
They lean into that, by the way.
Oh, as they should.
So, yeah. But so it's like it's a little digital to audio, a digital to analog converter, and then a headphone amp, and that's like you put those together, and people call that the little shit stack. And so right, yeah. And so I have those up on my desk, and the DAC is really cool because it's a little tiny box, but it has on the back, it has a USB input, it has a SPDIF coaxial input, which I don't use, and then it has the Toslink optical input.
Yeah.
And so I have the little stack sitting there, and I've got a USB cable running to my computer, because then you can have the computer configured to use that as its audio output device.
Yeah.
And then I have an optical cable running into the optical jack from the Mister.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got my nice Sennheiser headphones that I bought a while back sitting up there. And so like I can just sit in my chair, I can play PlayStation or whatever. Like this week it's PlayStation, like on the PVM while the HDMI output is going through a capture card and over to the Macintosh, and I'm playing, PlayStation, and I have the perfect, digital sound in my ear. And I don't think I'd ever really played PlayStation before with headphones on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you pick out stuff that, maybe I didn't hear before.
Right.
When I had the PlayStation when I was like a young adult, it was just like plugged into the TV.
Exactly,
right? So,
exactly. And you probably realize, like, man, like they don't make game music like this anymore. There's the PS1 hits this sweet spot, I think, with the music that was in games, where it's, it's pre, just like these orchestral scores that all basically sound the same, like movie scores, but. It starts out, the generation started out with some of this like Red Book audio that, I think of like Sega CD games sound a lot like that. And then using like the system's like MIDI capabilities, like what you used for like Final Fantasy VII and stuff. It's just, after that generation, things like really changed, I think, in terms of game music.
Yeah, I agree.
And audio in general.
So I've been really enjoying playing those games with the headphones, but then it's awesome because then I have the Tidal desktop app on my computer, and so if I want to just listen to I can sit in my chair if I want to load up an album or something.
Yeah,
I just flip the switch on the front of the DAC to the USB input, and I can listen to high resolution music through the same headphones, and then the headphone amp is also a pass through. It's like a preamp, so it's not a pass through; it's a preamp. So I can hook my powered monitors up to the back of the headphone amp. And if you unplug the headphones, then it'll automatically send the audio out to your speakers.
That's awesome.
So it's just it's like if you had told me, because in 1998 or whatever, in the late 90s, I was sitting on the floor of my bedroom, playing PlayStation and, composite video at best. On my TV and just getting the audio, probably not even in stereo, out of the speaker on the side of the TV. And I was, playing while I was downloading a bunch of MP3s off of Napster. And, and here I am, 20 some odd years later, sitting in my nice comfortable chair. I can stream any music I want pretty much and play any PlayStation game I want in, the highest visual quality possible. And last thing, I bought a PS. I think I mentioned this before. Maybe I have a PS5 controller that's what I use for playing the PlayStation Core. And I don't have a PlayStation 5, so I just went to Target and just bought a PS5 controller. And as far as PlayStation controllers go, it's the most comfortable controller that Sony has ever made, and it's just great for playing PS1 games.
And that's also, I think that one has the lowest lag out of.
Yeah, I looked it up. It's supposed to have. I mean, I don't think I'm sensitive to controller lag personally.
Me
I mean, display lag is different if it's bad enough, of course. But
yeah,
I've never had a controller where I felt like I was getting lag or whatever. But it's just a super comfortable controller. And then whatever that big, it's that panel or whatever on the front of the controller that I think is also touch sensitive, but it's also a big gigantic button.
Oh yeah, and you can use that as a mouse in certain games, I think.
Okay, I didn't even know that, so that's cool.
Yeah, I
just use that if I need to switch between an analog controller and a digital controller. I just have it where I just press that big gigantic thing, and it'll switch to being the core will see it as a dual shock.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing it as just a regular digital controller.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's just one of those things you could never imagine, I guess. And even if you did imagine it, it would be completely different than what it ended up being, probably.
Yeah. Well, I remember this would have been in the early 90s, but I don't know if you remember there was this AT&T commercial, or I think it was actually a series of AT&T commercials. And I think they were narrated by oh gosh, what's his name? Who played Magnum PI?
Oh, Tom Selleck.
Yeah, I think he was the one that narrated these commercials, and it was just like talking about all these things that were going to happen in the future, you know, and that AT&T is the one that was going to bring him to you. And like I remember one of them was like some lady goes into a phone booth, but it's like a video call.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know, and I'm like, this is it. I'm watching this, and it's like probably like 1991, 1992, right? So you're watching that, and I'm like, yeah, like that's ever going to happen. Like that's like,
well, I mean,
that's like Jetson stuff.
But that was in 2001: A Space Odyssey, which came out in like '68.
Yeah, but that's a fantasy movie, Corey. That's like, you know, I wasn't.
Well,
I
I
don't watch
think the
that movie
idea
and think that those things are going to happen.
Was
like
that
this was
in the future.
commercial? Yeah. But this was literally a commercial that from a tech company telling you, oh, yeah, these are things that are going to happen. But they, at the time, seemed so fantastical. But so the reason what reminded me is it literally had like some kids in a living room, like using their remote control on their TV to pick a movie that they wanted to watch. Like, oh, we're scrolling through this list of movies and we're going to pick one. And it's like, oh, you'll be able to just order a movie on your TV and AT&T is the one. And I'm like, what? You're crazy. Like, how could that ever? That would be so awesome if you could just. That's never going to happen.
Well, they knew,
you know, and here we are, you know.
Yeah. I was going to say something and I totally lost it.
Because I talked over you.
No. I don't know.
Was it about Tom Selleck?
No, it wasn't about Tom Selleck. It was just, I was going to say, you know, when you're a kid, you could never imagine, you know, like enjoying the setup that you were currently playing on, because you were probably thinking it was going to be like one of those ads where you could get the ultimate gaming setup. That's what you thought you were going to be playing on, or something like that.
Probably.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The where you fill out the word puzzle and you could.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Those were Someone told me that those were scams.
Oh, I don't.
Because I've talked about them on, like when I do a read through, I'll be like, oh, here's this thing again, you know. And someone left a comment, and I think they even left the link there. Is like, oh no, it turned out that these were a scam.
That's crazy, because they were in everything, in every game magazine.
Yeah. Like I guess the way those worked, because you know you'd see there's that little word puzzle, and you could see like this is a very easy word puzzle. Mm-hmm. Is that, you know, you would fill out the word puzzle and send in some money with it, and then anybody who got it right, the company would send them back like, here's a more difficult word puzzle, and then you have to do that one, but then you have to send them some more money. Like, okay, I filled out this more difficult puzzle, and here's like another $4
every time. Yeah,
and they would keep doing that. Like, and then now you're going to get an even harder one. And so, you know, they kept getting more and more and more money out of you, but then like nobody ever actually won that stuff.
They just had that one setup, or they had no problem buying that setup with all the money they were getting for entries, probably. And it's probably just in the owner of, like, the head of the company's house, in their living room.
That was probably his living room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to go ahead and read one of those emails, see where we're at with one of those?
Sure.
Let's do that.
How am I going to do that? Let me see here. I didn't know we were going to do that, so.
Well, I just thought I didn't prepare a question, and
no, you're fine. Already... I just like I don't think I'm signed in. Oh, I am. Never mind. All right, we're good.
All right.
I didn't know if I could sign into our Gmail on my iPad here. I don't like using my keyboard and mouse just because it's noisy.
Yeah. You prefer mechanical keyboards? Do you have a mechanical keyboard?
Yeah, I just think they're easier to type on. I'm not like one of these like snobs. I mean,
it is a lot easier.
Type on. You can get such cheap mechanical. You know, it's got knockoff, you know, cherry switches in it.
Yeah.
You know, I got it on Amazon for like $30, but the keys light up, which is nice because if I want to have it dark down here in the basement. All right, so I'm just going to go with the oldest one.
Okay.
I feel like that's fair.
Yes.
Okay. So this is from Andrew. I won't say his last name, but I'll say that he does hang out in my Discord. As he's Retro Andy. Okay. Or Randy, if you want to call. If you want to make a portmanteau out of his name, you can just call him Randy, even though he's Andy. And he makes YouTube videos. He also has a cool. Oh, sorry, he didn't put any of this in the email. It's not like he's trying to get me to promote his stuff. I just think that he's cool. So he has a blog called Retro Gaming Randomness.
Okay,
I
yeah.
believe it is.
I have
It's either Retro Gaming or Retro Gamer Randomness, but
I think that he sent me a
send
sticker.
you a sticker?
Yeah, it's on one of my.
oh yeah, I've got one of those.
On one of my PVMs.
Oh, nice. Like he like reviewed like every single shooter on like the PC Engine.
Dang.
He ranked them.
Whew.
So I thought that was cool. Oh, well, speak of the devil. Okay, so he says, "Hey, Chris and Coury, I'm a longtime viewer of both of your channels, and I think I have a sense of your gaming preferences and tastes. My favorite genre is shoot 'em ups, and I think that you both like the genre as well. I am a huge shooter fan. Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been very good at them. I like them, and probably one of my favorite things about them is their soundtracks.
For sure, yeah. Okay, he says, I have thought long and hard about which console reigns supreme for the shooter genre. I want to know your thoughts on this issue. Thanks for all that you do, Andy."
I mean, I have not played enough on the PC Engine. I'm sure that the PC Engine is better than the Genesis / Mega Drive, but I'm going to go with Genesis Mega Drive because that is the system I played the most on. The most shooters on it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, I feel like everybody says that the PC Engine is like, that's like the console to have, you know, if you're into shooters, but I feel like there are a lot more shooters on the Genesis than people sometimes realize, right? Because you think about, okay, what shooters are there in the Genesis? Everybody thinks immediately the Thunder Force series and probably Truxton because of Classic Game Room.
Right.
But like, you know, as I showed, I did that Sega Genesis in 1990 video a while back. You know, there was a bunch of shooters that came out for the console, even just in that year. And, you know, there's shooters that came out outside of that. There were shooters that came out in the system that didn't come out in this country. If you're a shooter fan, like, you should not be ignoring the Genesis by any means. To me, I feel like the question is more of like, do you like 16-bit shooters, or are you somebody that's more into like the bullet hell shooters that I think were far more prevalent on like the Sega Saturn?
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the real question probably for most people is like, is it PC Engine or is it Sega Saturn for shooters?
Interesting. Yeah.
And to me, it's like apples and oranges as far as like,
yeah, they're definitely a lot different. I haven't played a lot of the Saturn shooters or PC Engine shooters like very extensively. I mean, I don't think I've ever finished a shooter on either system. But then again, the amount of shooters that I've finished in my entire life, I could probably count on two hands.
Yeah. Well, they're hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like I own all the PC Engine shooters that I want to own.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's like one or two more that I could get. And it's not like it's a huge collection.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel as though a lot of the PC Engine shooters feel very similar to each other.
Yeah.
I just in the ones that I played. It seems as though so many of them they all have a speed adjustment, you know, like with the arrows. It doesn't feel like a lot of the Genesis shooters had that. And you know, they all felt very similar. A lot of them feel similar to me, but maybe I just haven't played the right ones.
I mean, it could be. I think there's a pretty good variety, but I agree with you that there's a certain group of shooters that all feel sort of derivative of each other. But I mean, the point I was just going to make is that if I think of like all the shooters that I have or that I want on the PC Engine versus the Genesis, I don't think the number is probably that far apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I can't think of any.
Like there's a lot of not very good shooters on both platforms, really.
Yes.
Like, there's probably more total on the PC Engine, but there's a lot of bad shooters on the PC Engine.
Yeah, I can't really speak from experience, but I feel as though that's probably true.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've played most shooters on the PC Engine.
Yeah.
And because I feel like I kind of went down a rabbit hole for a while with that.
Oh, really? And then you just played everything you could get your hands on? Or just, did you go through and try everything in a list or something?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I was just like, I would go through and like I would read like, websites like the Brothers Duomazov and like just, make lists of all these shooters I wanted to try.
Mm-hmm.
Like part of it was I felt like I want to buy like any shooter I want to get it now.
Yeah.
Like after the analog, the Duo or whatever they're calling it got announced, I was like, man, once that thing starts getting into people's hands, I think that, a lot of like PC Engine games are going to start getting like hoovered up on eBay, and it's going to make prices go up even higher. Like they're already insane, but I felt like they're going to get worse.
Yeah,
so I was like, well, this is my window. This is maybe my last opportunity to pick up certain games that are just going to rise above the level at which I'm comfortable paying.
Yeah. And this, it's something that we talk about in our streams or just on our show in general, is that when you're just going through an EverDrive and you have like a list of shooters you're going to play, you're just going to say, I'm going to play all these and see which ones I like. And a lot of times you play one level and be like, all right, next one. Or you get a game over and you're on to the next one. And there's so many people probably miss out on so many games that they would like if they just, if I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, but I think that you put more time into a game when you like pay money to play it or to buy it.
Why do you think you would get crap for saying that?
We get a lot of crap for that, saying that kind of stuff. That the only way that we really feel any desire to sit down and put a lot of time into a game is if we've bought it.
Well, I mean, I would just say I think with flash drives and whatnot, it's just way too easy to treat them as just being disposable.
Yeah.
Just be like, well, I'll try this. And like you just said, like you try it and you're like, I don't like it, next.
Exactly.
And that's like the biggest thing that I miss about, and we've probably talked about this already, but going even just out to flea markets and thrift stores is getting a new game. Like, yeah, you didn't pay that much for it, but it's like finding a physical copy of some game and just being like, oh, I want to go home and try this.
Yeah.
And for sure, I would play it, even if it was something where I thought like, oh, I don't think this is probably not very good. I would play it longer than I might feel like I want to play some ROM that I have that I just get a bad first impression of and just, I'm done with that.
Yeah, exactly. But we get a lot of people saying, saying that that's like a wrong, like that's not correct. And for me personally, I feel as though I'm going to put in more time and effort into seeing what the game is like if I've paid money for it.
Yeah. And I think maybe some people hear you say something like that and they think that you're encouraging your viewers to go pay the, inflated prices on eBay.
Yeah. But that's not what I'm saying at all.
I don't think there's not a direct connection there. You're just saying, like I don't think anybody should pay, but I mean, I'm guilty of paying those prices too, but I think it sucks.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I think that doesn't mean that there's not validity to the point that you're making.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have another question here, if you don't mind, just because it says I have a question for you guys about Santa.
Oh, okay. Let's do this.
And so I feel like this one's a little bit more like time sensitive.
Yeah. I like Santa.
This is from Matt. So this is not a difficult question or anything, but I don't even really have an answer, to be honest with you. It's from Matt. He says, I have a question for you. When and how did you find out the truth about Santa Claus? Like how he's not real.
Yeah.
And he says, Merry Christmas, boys, Matt. So, I mean, that's a cool question. Like, I don't have an answer for it. I don't even really have a recollection of believing in Santa. I wouldn't be surprised if I never believed in Santa, because that seems like the kind of thing where my mom would have told me when I was like 3 that he's not. That's just the kind of mom I have. Mm-hmm. But, based on the conversation we had last time and, your kids and their thing with Santa, I feel like maybe your experience growing up was different than mine.
For sure. I mean, I held on to it for a while, even though like I knew that that Santa wasn't real, but I held on to it because I just thought it was, like a fun thing. But I think that when I realized without a shadow of a doubt that there wasn't a Santa is when I found the presents ahead of time, and I would check them out when my mom wasn't there, and then when Christmas rolled around, I like got the exact presents that were in that hiding spot and like nothing else. And these are all like from Santa. See, that's the thing. I think that's where a lot of it comes in and is like different. Is that my mom used to put like say that like all this stuff was from Santa, like from Santa, like every time, or for a lot of stuff. And
you think she overplayed her hand?
Yes, I think that is what happened because, and I think that's why, like, what the approach that my wife's family has done is a lot better. Is that you get like one present from Santa, like Santa delivers like one present that you want.
It just makes more sense logistically.
Yeah, it totally does. Totally it does. And I think that's a good way to make Santa seem more real.
Yeah. So, well, there you go, Matt. There's your answer. Like I said, I don't really have one, but now that makes me want to ask, maybe some kids didn't do this. Like, I know, like, you're saying that you found, your mom's stash of presents for you. I don't know. Were you looking for them specifically?
Oh, for sure.
So was that something that you, I don't know. I feel like I'm asking a huge question, but just like when I was growing up, it was like, like I knew where my mom hid the presents. My best friend Jonathan knew where his mom. I remember like I would go over to Jonathan's house after school, and if nobody was home, he would take me and show me like, oh, hey, here's what I'm getting for Christmas. And we would like check all this stuff out.
Yeah.
Like I remember that. Remember last time I mentioned the calculator watch thing? I specifically remember him showing me that. Like we were in like his parents' walk-in closet in their bedroom. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, I'm getting this Casio watch. And that was why I was like, ooh, I want one of those.
Yeah.
And so that's when I asked for one. And then like that was the next year, but we were talking about the Game Boy. Like I was so stressed out about like, am I getting a Game Boy or not? I'm stressed out about it. That like there was a box under the tree that I thought might be a Game Boy. And so like I carefully like peeled some of the tape up and opened it just enough. And oh yeah, it's a Game Boy. And I closed it back up.
Yeah.
I guess I'm asking like what kind of stuff what kind of lengths did you go to?
Oh, I would peel them open to an extent, and that's why like the one that Christmas, I remember that Christmas specifically because when I got those same presents, because one of the things that I got was Alex Kidd The Lost Stars on the Master System. Mm-hmm. And
wait, did you have a Master System before before Genesis?
Yeah.
You were a Master System kid?
I was, yeah.
So, but you're not saying you didn't get that game in '89?
I did get that game in '89.
Oh, so you got a Genesis and some Genesis games, and you also got a Master System game.
I'm pretty sure did Lost Stars come out I feel like Lost Stars came out the year before that. Because I think I got a Master System in '87 for Christmas and birthday or whatever, and then the next year would have been it would have been '88 because I got all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then on my birthday of '88 is when I bought the first Phantasy Star with all my birthday money.
Oh, nice.
And then I went to see I think I went to see the Naked Gun for
oh, nice.
for my birthday, like because we would go and like have a birthday
party.
That
same mall?
No. There was one in the Chautauqua Mall was like my local mall, and then the Warren Mall in Warren, Pennsylvania, was the one that we went in '89. But on my birthday, I got Phantasy Star from KB Toys in '88.
Oh, nice!
And it was all my birthday money on that.
Yeah.
And then we went to see. I'm pretty sure it was the Naked Gun. If it wasn't the Naked Gun, then it was the Bill Cosby classic Leonard Part 6. It was one.
Nice.
It's one of those two movies.
Yeah.
Because I definitely saw both of those movies on my birthday in different years.
Nice. So, when you would get like a Master System game or a Genesis game, either one under the tree. Like, did they literally just take the game and wrap it up?
As far as I remember, yes.
So I mean, it was pretty obvious then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, my mom worked 2 jobs, and she just didn't have a lot of time to like put a lot of.
I'm not like judging. I'm not saying like. I'm just curious. Like, I feel like that would make the theater of the mind would be even worse, because then it's like, well, there's a Sega game in there. I need to know what it is, right? But like if it was hidden inside of a different box, then you know, especially if it was in like a shirt box, you know, like one of those department store like boxes that a shirt would come in, you know, then I would just be like, yeah, I don't care.
And you know, I would get
probably a flannel shirt in there.
And on Christmas Eve, we would have my grandparents would come over from my mom's side. Would come over and we would they'd bring presents, and usually I get a game from them too. I mean, have I ever shown you like the photograph, the Polaroid of me getting Shinobi on the Master System as Christmas Eve?
No.
That's like what I've shown it in a lot of videos, but it's like I have it. It's like right here. It's one of my favorite photos of myself. I'm gonna show it to you here. I don't know if you can. My dog's right here. I don't want her to like fall, but I'll see if I can.
Oh wow!
This is me. Let's see if I can.
What's that shirt you're wearing there?
I don't know. It's kind of amazing though, right? It's a sweatshirt for sure.
Yeah.
See that? Like, there's a can of A&W root beer there too.
Oh, nice.
But that's me. That must have been like. That might have been 80. I mean, that might have been 88 also. But I feel like Shinobi came out the year before Lost Stars, but maybe not. But I love this photo.
I don't know much about Master System game release dates.
Maybe you should do the launch of the Sega Master System. Let me focus myself now.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Well, I did the launch of the Master System.
Oh, that's right. You did.
Yeah.
You did it twice.
It was a long time ago. It's
you did you did a remake of it.
No, that was the Genesis.
Oh, okay.
Remade. Although the original Genesis launch video is still on my channel, it's just unlisted.
Oh.
So, good luck finding that.
That's a good question. I mean, that's what I like about questions like this, is that it opens up these avenues for discussion that we didn't quite think of.
I don't think, is there anything else in here that's Christmas related? Well, I mean, I don't know, does Derek Guy says his Batman Returns a Christmas movie? I don't.
Maybe.
I feel like we already went over this whole "is this a Christmas movie" thing. So I don't. If it's, I'll just say the same thing I said last time. If it's a Christmas movie to you, then it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
That's all that really matters. It has Christmas imagery in it.
Yes.
It takes place during Christmas. If it's something that you enjoy watching during the Christmas season, then for you because he says I say yes, and he puts yes in capital letters.
Okay, then it is.
So then yes, for you it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, and it takes.
And then, but he says why does Die Hard get all the controversy? That's what I'd like to know. Leave Die Hard alone.
Yeah,
I
think that the discussion is like I think that it's probably like jumped the shark at this point. Like I think
I almost felt kind of passe bringing it up last time, but you know, I just wanted to make the point about Home Alone. Really, is the main reason I brought it up. You know,
Die Hard being a Christmas movie was a plot point on Fuller House, and that's when I think something is.
Oh, I've never watched Fuller House.
You don't need to, but my daughter was like real obsessed with it for a minute. But I'm pretty sure there was an episode where they were talking about Die Hard being a Christmas movie. It's like, all right, so I think we get the point.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. Well,
so I think it's probably time to wrap it up. Unless you got something
about? No. I was just gonna say this is mostly your soccer story. I'm just.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm just like, man, I got to try to make this like a tight story, but it's so difficult.
It's impossible, really.
Yeah, but people really should go watch. Like, go look at.
I'm gonna watch it.
Go look at the Landon Donovan call, and then it's cool. They had they have a camera like in the booth, so you can actually see him reacting.
Oh, that's cool.
To Argentina I'll find the links and send them to you
Yeah.
or whatever. And
Maybe put it.
Yeah. Anyway, what?
I'm gonna say you should put them in the show notes. I don't know.
I should actually.
Do you do
Yes,
show
that's
notes
a
for
very
like
good
the
idea.
the podcast version?
I just put a little short description.
Okay.
But I don't really do like show notes so much, but I always try to put something. I try to do it because like, there's other shows that I watch or listen to where maybe it's like, oh yeah, one time they told the story about whatever, but how are you going to find it?
Right.
Later. And so I try to put a few kind of little descriptors in the show so that maybe it'll help somebody find an episode later if they want to rewatch it or whatever. But yeah, so if I remember, I will put links to both of those things in the description.
Sounds good.
All right. So that's going to do it for this episode of Here's My Question for You.
I hope everyone has a
Guest
happy new
starring-
year, I guess.
Yeah, and happy Boxing Day,
Yes.
more importantly. In Europe, Boxing Day, they get the day off. So like it's still a big deal there. And if you're in England, there's tons of premiere matches on Boxing Day. So that's cool too.
Nice.
But also, even though, today is not your birthday, when people are listening to this, today will be your birthday. So I'm going to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, if you were listening to this the day that this came out, that's my birthday.
Yes.
If not,
Right.
then it was a belated birthday that they're wishing me,
Yeah.
I guess.
Right. All right.
All right. Take care, everybody.